Hi, everybody. I'm Scott, and welcome to A Few More Books, episode number 2. This time, I'm just going to talk about some short fiction that I've been reading because I've been bouncing in and out of books for the last couple of weeks. The first one is Wine Dark Deep by R. Peter Keith. Sorry. The R does not stand for robot, as far as I know. For those of you who are familiar with Asimov, that's a cool name. R. Peter Keith. It's a piece of hard science fiction. It's a novella. It's independently published, so I got it on a Kindle, and it's set in the near future solar system, where a ship called the Ulysses wants to land on Ceres, which is a dwarf planet in the asteroid belt. Unfortunately, at that exact time, the Ceres has started their struggle for independence pretty much against the entire solar system. They just want to be independent, and that causes a lot of problems with the timing of their visit because of resources, etc. So it's just a really great book. Again, hard science fiction is the type where the science is paid close attention to, and everything that happens is very plausible as far as the knowledge that we have today. And R. Peter Keith did an excellent job, and he's definitely someone that I will look for. It looks like he has 3 of these novellas out, and I'm definitely interested in reading further. So there's that one. And then this one here, this was a bit of an eye-opener for me. This is The Summer Book by Tove Jansson, and it is fantastic. Now, the author, Jansson, did... she wrote a lot for children, I understand. I didn't know this when I started to read this book. I looked it up, and she wrote about the Moomins. And but this book here is written in 1972, and it's for adults. There's nothing super adult in it or anything like that. But it is excellent. What an excellent book this is. So it's a collection of vignettes. I'm struggling here because they're not really short stories. They're vignettes. So it's hard to even say that this book has a plot if you consider it a novel. It's a collection of like 20 or so vignettes that are each just really powerful. I mean, when you finish one of these, it's kind of like reading a poem in a way, where you read it and you're like, wow, something that really touched something really deep. That's how I felt when I was reading this. And it's about a young girl and her grandmother that both live on an island. They don't live alone on the island, but they just live on an island. And it's just that's all it's about. It's just about their lives on this island. They're on the island, and then it's just like little pieces of their life throughout this book. 20 little pieces of their life that are shown here. And there's just pearls of wisdom throughout. Every now and then you just read something and you're just like, wow, that is like very well put. And this is a translation from Swedish, I believe. It's she was born in Helsinki into Finland's Swedish-speaking minority. So she passed away in 2001. Again, the book was written in 1972. The translation is by Thomas Teal, and I thought it was great. I mean, it read great in English. A quote that's an example of something that she says: An island can be dreadful for someone from outside. Everything is complete, and everyone has his obstinate, sure, and self-sufficient place. I think that's true for small towns, period. When you come into a small town, I lived in a small town for a long time, but when you come into a small town, everybody in that small town has a function, right? Or their place in that town. They've found their spot, and the outsider has not found that spot yet. It's only, some people never find their place. I've observed that. but some people do. Some people do find a place in there. But it's just one of those things that you hadn't really thought about, but is just so very true. And nature plays a really good role in this too. It's like the young girl and the grandmother are just very close to nature on this island, and it comes up all the time in these vignettes. So I'll just give you an example of just the earth, being around the earth. So this is from the very first vignette. It's called The Morning Swim, and I'm just going to read just a little bit of it. It was an early, very warm morning in July, and it had rained during the night. The bare granite steamed, the moss and crevices were drenched with moisture, and all the colors everywhere had deepened. Below the veranda, the vegetation in the morning shade was like a rainforest of lush, evil leaves and flowers, which she had to be careful not to break as she searched. She held one hand in front of her mouth and was constantly afraid of losing her balance. "What are you doing?" asked little Sophia. "Nothing," her grandmother answered. "That is to say," she added angrily, "I'm looking for my false teeth." The child came down from the veranda. "Where did you lose them?" she asked. "Here," said her grandmother. "I was standing right there, and they fell somewhere in the peonies." They looked together. "Let me," Sophia said. "You can hardly walk. Move over." She dived beneath the flowering roof of the garden and crept among the green stalks and stems. It was pretty and mysterious down in the soft black earth. And there were the teeth, white and pink, a whole mouthful of old teeth. "I've got them," the child cried and stood up. "Put them in." "But you can't watch," grandmother said. "That's private." Sophia held the teeth behind her back. "I want to watch," she said. So grandmother put the teeth in with a smacking noise. They went in very easily. It had really hardly been worth mentioning. And then she says, "When are you going to die?" the child asked. And the grandmother answered, "Soon, but that is not the least concern of yours." So it's just, she can capture a kid, this really young kid, and then the grandmother, and she captures them both perfectly. And the book is full of things from both of their lives and the interaction between the two. So a very young person and a very old person, interacting, and the concerns of both are being looked at. Really, really just a great, great book. So, and then here's one that I'm just playing late to the game on this, P.J. Wodehouse. This is actually, to my knowledge, the first Wodehouse I've ever read. And this is exactly my kind of stuff. I mean, I love British comedy. So it's like, if you like Stephen Fry, Douglas Adams, John Cleese, Monty Python, the whole troupe there, P.J. Wodehouse is somebody that they read and loved. Especially Douglas Adams and Stephen Fry have both said many, many things about the influence of P.G. Wodehouse. So I read in this one, this book is called Lord Emsworth and Others, and the story that I read in here is called A Crime Wave at Blandings, and it is just plain hilarious. It is. I've heard it likened to musical comedy is what they say that he writes. It's just these are the stories that he writes, and they're all just fun and funny. And I say they're all, but I've only read the one so far. But The Crime Wave at Blandings. And then The Crime Wave, well, again, I'm going to read just a little bit here. The Crime Wave at Blandings. The day on which lawlessness reared its ugly head at Blandings Castle was one of singular beauty. The sun shone down from a sky of cornflower blue, and what one would really like would be to describe in leisurely detail the ancient battlements, the smooth green lawns, the rolling parkland, the majestic trees, the well-bred bees, and the gentlemanly birds on which it shone. But those who read thrillers are an impatient race. They chafe at the scenic rhapsodies and want to get on with the rough stuff. When they ask, did the dirty work start? Who was mixed up in it? Was there blood And if so, how much? And most particularly, where was everybody and what was everybody doing at whatever time it was? The chronicler who wishes to grip must supply this information at the earliest possible moment. So, just love it. And these stories, they're written in like the 20s and 30s, I think. I'm not sure about this exact one. It says copyright 1937 by P.G. Wodehouse. So, before 1937 anyway. But this is somebody I'm going to be spending a lot of time with. I guarantee that. In fact, I found on eBay, a nice collection of paperbacks that match this one. This is an older Penguin paperback. For very cheap, I found just a little bunch of these and I ordered them. So I think there was about, 6 or 7 of them. But super fun. Really, really enjoyable. The crime wave is people being shot with an air gun, in the behind, basically. So I won't say any more about that, but it is fun. P.J. Wodehouse, definitely good. And I'm just going to mention one other one, and I'm mentioning this one because I noticed that this one is 99 cents now on Kindle. The Lives of Dex and this is by multiple authors. It's a collection of short stories all about Dax. For those of you who are Star Trek fans, if you like Deep Space Nine. So each story takes place at a point in Dax's life. So for those of you who are not familiar with Dax is a symbiont who moves from host to host. So the symbiont lives for a long time while the host passes away, and then it'll join a new host. So the Dax piece continues on with its memories and everything, and the it's not a human being, but the symbiont, the host passes away, but the symbiont lasts for a long time. So this is how many lives it has had. So it starts with Leela, Tobin, Emily, Audred, Torias, Joran, Curzon, who we know, Jadzia, and Ezri. So we know Jadzia, Ezri, and Curzon are all in the lifetime of the Deep Space Nine series. Well, Curzon just before the Deep Space Nine series. But this is really fun. Christine Catherine Rush, Jeffrey Lang, Michael Jan Friedman, S.D. Perry. These are all authors. Judith and Garfield Reed Stevens even wrote some. But one of the cool things is it has a Jadzia Dax in the episode Tribbles and Tribulations, or Trials and Tribulations, in Deep Space Nine, where they went back in time and into the Trouble with Tribbles episode. She mentioned something about Dr. McCoy, and anyway, there's a chapter in here, and Dr. McCoy is in it, so it's very cool. Very good stuff. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you very soon.